Jenkins, Tucker Kraft. Did not practice were Jair, Zane Anderson, B. Cox, Andre Dillard, Quay Walker, Christian Watson, Evan Williams.
Matt, will you maybe lean toward being more cautious with some guys dealing with injuries this week than you would in normal weeks?
I wouldn't say more cautious. I think we got to be mindful of every situation, and guys that are dealing with stuff that I think that you just got to be mindful. That's the best word I can come up with.
But aside from injuries, it's still just a typical game for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing to win. I mean, we always play to win the game, so I don't see our approach changing.
Can I take the devil's advocate question of that, though?
Sure, absolutely. You can take whatever question you want, Bill.
I mean, you can move it up to 6, but chances are you're probably going to be 7 unless Mike McCarthy does you a favor. Is there any thought towards doing any
Hopefully
upside?
Mike does us a favor.
Is there any upside to giving much of your key players a rest so they're as fresh as they can be?
Well, here's the deal. Like, I just read off the injury report, and unfortunately, you got a 55-man roster. I mean, 53-man roster plus 2 call-ups. So, I mean, guys got to play. So that's the approach that we take here.
So when you go through this process, how do you kind of weigh the pros and cons? How do you personally view, because there is value to building momentum and playing well, and there is obviously.
Here's what I'll tell you. The right answer is whatever works. And I think you got to have a philosophy on what works best for you. We were in a similar situation a few years back where we played the guys a half and lost in the second half, and then we had the bye, and then we lost in the playoffs. So like, the right answer is whatever works, is really what I'll tell you. And I know you're subject to criticism, and if it goes great, then that was the right way to do it. And if it doesn't go the way you want it to, then, you learn from every experience. But I do believe there's a lot of value in terms of especially how we played, I would say, a week ago, where I didn't think it was the cleanest game in any phase. I think there's value to going out there and playing well.
What have you seen from Caleb Williams since you played him back in November?
Well, I still think he's a really talented guy. Obviously, they've had some adverse situations, but I think you can't discount his ability to, make plays off schedule. Certainly had a great day versus us last time we played him, and I would put the most stock into that.
Defensively, they held Seattle 6 points. Who stands out on that defense, like Sanborn as linebacker? What do you look for?
Oh, all the linebackers, Edmonds, Sweat, the D-line, Jalen Johnson. They've got a lot of great players, and they're playing extremely hard, and that definitely stands out on tape. So I think it's been a fairly stingy defense throughout the course of the season. Certainly, they gave us a lot of problems back, what was that, week 11 or whatever? And they present some challenging looks, and they got good players.
Well, obviously, we're quite familiar with Josh Jacobs' track record, what he done with the Raiders when he came here. Just what if the year you've had him, what have you kind of learned about him, discovered about him that maybe you didn't realize about his game?
Well, I don't think you really know about somebody until you're around them on a daily basis, and that you get to learn about the person. Obviously, the player is the player, a guy that we've held in high regard since he came out of Alabama. Had an experience, he played against us, I think was that 2019 or whatever, right? I believe so. Yes.
Last year?
Played them in.
Well, and then we played him last season, so he got exposure there. So I think he obviously has been doing it at a high level for a long time now, but just to see him on a daily basis, how he comes in and he's all about his business, and he puts in the extra time. He does a great job of putting his arm around some of the younger guys as well, and lifting them up and giving them a boost. And he's just been a catalyst for this team in terms of just how to approach the game, and then his performance, I think, speaks for itself.
Matt, a couple of weeks ago, we were asking you about Carrington and Stokes sharing time, and you said it's a competition. Well, the way CV has answered that competition, what did you learn about him, and what did that show you about him?
Yeah, I think CV's a young player, and the more he plays, it seems like the better he's getting. And I think he's addressed some of the things that we wanted him to work on throughout not only last year, but into this year. And he's done a nice job, and certainly he's made some plays for us, particularly in the last couple of games. And I expect him to get better.
You've mentioned Stokes. He hasn't made a lot of plays in the ball, but I don't think he's given up a whole lot either lately. What have you thought of how he's played here, Thomas?
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job, and we got to continue to build upon that, and try to keep stacking good game after good game.
Matt, you mentioned the adversity that the Bears have gone through. Obviously, you went through some last year, a lot actually. When you're in a situation like that, for you as a coach, what are the keys to getting out of it? Like, things kept going for you guys in that direction, and you guys figured out a way to get out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think you just got to try to stay as resilient as you possibly can, and you got to show up with a great just energy each and every day, and just keep working, because you just don't know when it's going to flip. And there's great examples, I think, every year of teams that have gone through some adversity and come out the other side. And like I said a year ago, I thought we were, it's tough in the moment, but if you can get to the other side of that, you're usually better for it. And but you got to stay resilient and keep working.
Do you have to, as a coach, like, I'm not saying you need to coddle guys because they're struggling, but do you have to kind of weigh, all right, I'm going to get after them this much, I got to keep it positive in other ways to kind of get things turned around?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you, as a coach, you always have a responsibility to be honest with where you are at it with the situation and how you're performing and all this. But at the same time, I think confidence, whether it's in football or in any aspect of life, is a real thing. And you want to try to build people up and make them, sometimes you believe more than they believe. And if somebody is struggling, you just got to find a way to try to reach them and get them to see what you might see in them.
Is there any update or any further clarity on Jair's situation?
Yeah, I would expect Ja, most likely, he's going to be done for the rest of the year.
Is that injury related?
Yes.
So you having surgery?
Yes. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. It is what it is. I feel for him. Obviously, he was trying to get his knee right. It wasn't getting right. And so, yeah, it's a tough deal for all of us.
So, Matt, when you look at the way this has played out, was there a conversation at the very beginning of the process, if he needs surgery now, if you should have done it then, and maybe you'd had a chance?
Yeah, we can go back in time, and that's not what I'm trying to do right now. I just, it's a situation. It stinks that we're here, but we're here.
It's good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.